In this video, we are going to continue talking about the degrees of adjectives and adverbs, but now we have to deal with these 6 words. And in fact, it really is not 6 words, but rather 5. These are the same words, but they have a different meaning of sorts when they are singular versus plural. So, the words are good, bonusaum, bad, malusaum, big, magnusaum, small, parusaum, and much in the singular, multisaum, and many in the plural, multi, multa. And you can think about it as being irregular in English as well, especially when it comes to the word good. Because we do not say good, gooder, and goodest for the superlative. Instead, it is good, better, and best. And why is it that way? Because it is irregular. And when it comes to irregulars, just like with verbs, you've got to memorize the forms. And so these are the forms that obviously you're going to have to memorize. So let's go through and see how they're going to be different. Now normally remember that a comparative is going to have the letters I-O-R. And you can see it when I over here have declined the word happier, in which it has litior, litioris, litiori, and so forth and so on. And 28 of the 30 forms have I-O-R. When you see I-O-R, it is comparative. There are only 2, and you can see them there and there, that do not have it, and that is, of course, the nominative variant neuter, and, of course, the nominative neuter is identical to that accusative neuter. So, let's go through and look at the forms that we have for each of these. By the way, there are going to be 3 items that I embed into this video, and those items are going to be books. Books, and so, be on the list out, or the listen out, I suppose, not the lookout, but the listen out for 3 random books. Okay, so the comparative of bonusaum. It is not going to be bonior. That would be like saying gooder. Instead, it is the word melior, melior for the masculine and the feminine nominative, and then, of course, melius for then the neuter. And just like we had seen over here with litior, it still follows that pattern and will decline exactly like litior had when we saw it a second ago. So that is the word better. Malusaum is going to be peor, peus, in which you can see there the word for worse. Now, you probably are not familiar with this English word, but this is where we get the word pejorative. Pejorative means putting it in a worse light. So you can say that someone is overweight, but if you wanted to put that in a pejorative term, you would say that they are fat, which of course we don't want to do. And so that is where we get the word pejorative from the word peor, which means worse. So something can be bad, malus, and then of course something can be worse, peor. Magnusaum, its comparative, is going to be maior, bigger, and maius. And again, you are seeing the pattern that even though they are irregular, I-O-R and I-U-S for the neuter, I-O-R and I-U-S, and so forth and so on. And so that is a Latin word that means larger, bigger. And it's where we, of course, get the word major. That I turns into the J. And small, we need now to get the word smaller. That is going to be minor and then minus. And obviously it's where we get the word minor that you have. Now, the comparative of multusaum is different in that there are 30 forms of bonus, 30 forms of malus, 30 forms of magnus, and then over here 30 forms of these, 30 forms of these, and again they will decline exactly like we saw litor a second ago. But for the comparative of multusaum, there is only one form. Your first book is Bible, B-I-B-L-E, Bible. Now, for here then, you would have multusaum, the form plus, plus. And so, the reason I put an asterisk by it is that it stands on its own. There is not another form of plus other than plus. And it is substantized, such that if multus means much or a lot, plus means more, but it always implies more substance, more amount. Kind of like if I were to drink more water, it would be plus aquae. It is almost always with a what's called genitive partitive, or part of a whole genitive, and that you're not drinking more water, you're drinking more amount, more volume of the water. And so that's why it is the substantive in only one form. Then, finally, for multi, multa, it's going to always be plural. So 30 forms, 30 forms, 30 forms, 30 forms, 30 forms, or 15 forms, 15 forms. And so here it is plures and plura, which are then going to decline exactly as one would expect. We come over here and look at, of course, right here. It'd be plures, plures, plurum, plurum, pluribus, pluribus, and so forth and so on. Plura, plurum, pluribus, and so forth and so on. So those are the irregular comparative forms. You just have to memorize them. There is no way around trying to, of course, do otherwise. You can't apply it to any sort of pattern. We then move on to the superlative. Your second book is Koran, the Koran, Koran. Nevertheless, superlative. Now remember, normally with superlatives, you use the suffixes isimus or rimus or lemus, and becomes a first and second declension adjective, as it were. But for here, instead, it is going to be different because they are irregular. And so, good, better, and then the word for best or very good is optimus, optima, optimum. So, that is good, better, and best. Please do not put bonissimus, that'd be the goodest. Don't even put optissimus, that'd be the bestest. And you don't want that. It's optimus, best. Bad, worse, worst would be pessimus, pessimus, So, it is then where we get the word pessimistic or pessimist and those sorts of things like that. The worst is pessimus, big, bigger, and then biggest or largest is going to be maximus, maxima, maximum. That's of course where we get the word maximum, largest as it were. Parvus, minor, so small, smaller. Smallest is of course minimus, minima, minimum. So maximum and then minimum, smallest or least if you would like. For multus, then you have plus, which remember is the only form up here that does not have multiple forms. It is always more amount, more substance, and usually with the genitive of something. But most or very much would be here. Plurimus, plurima, plurimum. And so therefore, down here in the plural, remember this is the same word. It just has a different meaning because when it is singular, it's going to mean much or a lot. But if it is things that can be individualized, we say many. So, I can say, if I would like, I drink much water, a lot of water. But down here, if I were talking about water bottles that I could count instead of water as a substance, I would say I drink many waters, as in water bottles. Likewise here, he drinks more of the water versus he drinks more waters that you can count individually. And he drinks the most water. And down here we want to say he drinks the most waters. You can count them individually, so it has to be plural. And it is going to be just simply the plural of that. So 15 words of that, 15 forms, and then 15 forms of plurimi, plurimai, and then plurima, as it were. And thus, indeed, you've got to just memorize these. There's no way around them. Your third and final book is the Hebrew Talmud. The Talmud. So the Abrahamic religions, I chose the 3 books for those. Fine.